This episode of Bend the Knee is brought to you by our bannermen, Lord Jaqen of House Ross, Sir Jimmy of House Nuts, Master of the Web, Lady Dawn of House Wright, Sir Chris of House Farber, Lady Tracy of House Faw, Sir Peter of House Whittingham, Sandy the Dragon, Blood of Queen Daenerys and Lady of Jameson, Lord John of House Fry, Lady Juliana of House Stradley, Sir David of House Fraser, Lady Liz of House Hendricks, Sir Matthew of House Perry, Lady Madeline of House Fritzl, Lady Adrian of House Dillard, Lady Ashley of House Gardner, Lady Lismelin of House Morales.
This episode of Bend the Knee is protected by Sir Ryan of House Turbush, Lady Sarah the Unraveler.
Our current champion is Lady Kira of House Arnold.
Our current Master of Coin is Lord Jaqen of House Ross.
Squire to Sir Matt, Lady Betsy of House Hudson.
Hello and welcome to Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I am Sir Matt, the Bud Knight.
And I am Ser Ezra, the Watchful. Welcome to our Song of Ice and Fire book club. Today we are into Arya 9 of A Clash of Kings. And today in our Maester study, we will be discussing Sir Alliser Thorne. We are back to the main series characters for a little bit here.
Yes, we are. Before we begin, we're picking a patron, a loyal bannerman. We're giving him a shout out, top of the show. So shout out to Lady Juliana of House Stradley.
Yeah, and shout out to Sandy the Dragon, Blood of Queen Daenerys, and Lady of Jameson. Saw some really cool Facebook posts by her earlier, and just wanted to kind of give a shout out to a couple of our bannermen, and really thank them for just supporting the podcast. Really do appreciate it. And actually, since we're shouting out bannermen, we might as well go ahead at the top of the show and announce when the next hangout's going to be, right?
Yes, we should. Go right ahead.
All right, so Bannerman Zoom Hangout is going to be February 26th. We'll probably do it around 8 p.m. My time, Eastern Standard Time, which is what, 5 p.m. your time. You won't quite be home yet, but I'll be. Don't worry.
I'll be home.
Hey, I'm always warming us up. All right, don't worry. Ser Ezra's in there early, and I leave late. Okay, and I'm normally I start off somewhat watchful, mediocre watchful, and by the end of the night, I need folks to. So I need someone to shut the Zoom down on me, to be quite frank. But they're fun. They're a blast, and I'm hoping to see more of our bannermen in there, and just come hang out and bring a drink, and should be a good time. So that's in a couple weeks, and we'll announce it again next week, and just kind of, you're ready for that. We did do a live stream actually on YouTube last Friday, and
yes,
we just got on there, and oh my gosh, what were we talking about? The clip art for it is what was the clip art? It was werewood kissing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I made that.
It was ridiculous.
I made it after about 2 White Claws, so you know how Ser Ezra gets. It was a lot of fun. We started off kind of talking about, we had Sir Jimmy in there, Adrian, we had Lady Sarah. It was good. Lady Annie was in there as well, which was awesome. So yeah, it was cool. Kind of an improv. On the fly. Friday night happened, and we were just sort of like, let's go live. I think for our Hyperspace Hangout for our Star Wars podcast, we're probably going to do that later this week. Actually, on Friday again, we'll probably go live there and hang out. We're trying to do more of that. And on BTK, on Bend the Knee, we're trying to push to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't had a chance yet, please go over there. We're at like 9, I don't know, we're at 9:30, 9:20 something.
Yeah, we're getting close, man. We're getting really close to 1,000.
I would love it. It's just kind of a goal we have personally for Sir Matt and I. So, if you got a YouTube account and you want to go subscribe, we would really appreciate it. Just type in Bend the Knee, and we're the first thing that pops up. Sometimes you have to type in Bend the Knee podcast, and we come right up, top of the search. So
yep, absolutely. There was a little bit of news. We talked about this in our live stream, but George R.R. Martin has provided us with Winds of Winter update as he has been doing. basically saying it's not finished yet.
Right.
Saying that he wrote hundreds of pages in 2020, saying it was the best year that he's had with the book. And he wrote hundreds of pages, but he still has hundreds more to go. So is that because he started in 2020?
Oh my gosh, dude.
Are we getting it this year? I don't think I think with that being said, I still think it's unlikely. He gave a timetable once and said, from the moment I finish the last word, I think he said it's at the absolute earliest 3 to 4 months before it will get shipped out. Just because, you have to send it to an editor, they have to look it over, and that would be like, it's done. There's no revisions major revisions that need to be made.
Right.
It's here you go. And it's editor looks it over, fixes whatever. Okay, send it to the publisher. The publisher then has to get it printed and artwork and all of this stuff, and then it goes to Walmart and all Barnes and Noble and all the places to have it shipped out to be physically in our hands, unless you do the Kindle version like myself. So with that being said, I think it's unlikely we see it this year.
Yeah, no, for sure. You said, 3 to 4 months from the time that he
probably
finishes.
The earliest.
At the earliest. And so that would put us at, if you back up, if we were trying to get it this year, he'd have to be done writing by August. He'd have to be completely finished with that last word, turn it in, and then we'd be getting it at, New Year's Eve of this year, which is wild. I don't think it's going to happen. And that's, so we're hopeful for 2022, and we'll see. I think this year he's going to stay kind of up in his cabin a little bit more. It seemed like he indicated he's going to still continue writing, and he's going to keep going. Was giving us that little update. What I worry about sometimes is that normally in the past, and again, George, if you're listening, Ser Ezra has said since the beginning, just keep writing. I don't even take your time. Revise when you have to. It's fine. Just would like to have it someday. Whenever you're ready for us to have it is when I would love to have it. But sometimes he makes those updates, and I think it's a time where he knows he's about to go off and maybe do a few more things. Like he says, he's very busy and he has other things he's got to do. Books that he reads. He reads stuff for people. He gives feedback. He does a lot of different things. I don't know. This has been a year for him, though, where a lot of the conventions and events and stuff have been virtual or they've been canceled. So he's been able to kind of stay in that cabin and just keep working, which is nice. Let's hope for that. So, yeah.
So we'll see. But I would say don't expect it. Don't expect it this year. Now he could still finish this year and say, "Hey, I finished." But that would, in my just sort of, and I think theoretically it's still possible, but he says he still has hundreds of pages more to go. And considering he said he wrote hundreds of pages and he's had, chapters that were going to be in another book that were going to be in originally, A Dance with Dragons / A Feast for Crows was going to be one book. It got split into two. There's stuff from there. So if anything, it seems to me like, hopefully, right here we go, that he should finish this thing, judging by the pace that he feels like he's optimistic about it now. Before it was always, I think I'll get to it, and it was like loose optimism, right? Like, I could just hammer this. Now he's like, I'm writing, I'm churning out, and each post since this last summer has been better and better. So I think it could be likely that he finishes the book this year.
Yeah, if he kept going, yes, I think you're totally right. Sometimes, though, what you've seen is he gets going, and then this post is an indication that he's about to slow down, and that he's going into different things. And I hope that's not the case. I hope he's able to keep right on going. And I know he always makes the comment about someone online is going to say something or whatever. And George, I'm telling you, I'm the guy saying, finish it. I just take your time, do what you got to do. You're a busy man, and it is what it is. if we don't ever get it, then we don't ever get it. It's already been awesome. It's been fun to speculate, and it's whatever. But we would love to have it when you're ready. I also don't want him to just, if he doesn't know, if he's just sitting here trying to think through, how do I wrap this up? It's what I've been saying for years, which is there's so much going on. It's so complex. Sir Jimmy brought up some different things where he wanted to do the time jump. He wanted to do a couple of different things that didn't work out. And he realized he had to do flashbacks. That might have slowed him down. Whatever. He's had some hiccups and some changing, some revision along the way. Now he's revising again, even what he's all... Sir Matt, he is revising what he has already written. Mm-hmm. That some people could say that's a good sign. That could be whatever. But that means he's going back to stuff that was we were assuming that's done. Well, look, at least he's got those chapters done. He said, actually, nah, I need to revise those. So that is how difficult I think it is, and I just think it's maybe he is taking into the show into consideration, the reaction. You'd have to imagine, like, he says he's not. He says the ending is the ending. And he's going to write towards that, and that's whatever. I don't think we saw the actual ending, but I still think we saw bits and pieces of it, and he's working it out. I kind of think a lot of these characters, I kind of always forget that he did plan, kind of in the series, a time jump a little bit. You know what I mean? For characters to grow up. And so you start to kind of think maybe that, some of these characters who are a lot younger, he thought were going to be a little older to do different things, if that makes sense. And they're not necessarily.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? We'll see. But he feels good about it. He feels like, hey, I'm getting I wrote 100 pages. So he feels like he's made some progress. That's good. I will take that as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, so just a quick not a blog update there. Let's jump into the Maester study here. And today we actually have a Raven later on that's going to follow up on this character. We're talking Sir Alistair Thorne, who is a knight from House Thorne. Let me remind you of that. He is a knight, okay? Sir. Sir Alistair. He's around 50 years old. He's got black eyes, black hair, streaked with gray, a thin smile. He's sharp, he's cold, humorless, bitter, mean-spirited. He was born in 247 AC, or maybe 248 AC. He did take part in Robert's Rebellion, and he was fighting on, was it the wrong side or the right side, Sir Matt? He was fighting against Robert. He was fighting for the Targaryens. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Targaryen loyalist.
So, I mean, again, I'll put the question to you: right side or wrong side? Which one was he on? I mean, you're a loyalist, right?
Yeah, I am, but I get why people were rebelling in that war. Just because. I mean, I think even Rhaegar's plan was to rebel against the Mad King after he put down Robert's rebellion. So,
yeah, and then you know what, Rhaegar, where's Lyanna? That's all the realm wanted was Lyanna back, and instead,
I think they wanted a little more than that.
They might have, but instead, his father killed a bunch of Northmen in a brutal way, and it started a war. And Sir Alistair was on the side of the Targaryens, though. At the end of that, following the sack of King's Landing, he's given a choice by Tywin Lannister, basically death or take the black, and he does take the black, and so that's how he ends up. There at the Night's Watch, and really he is the we pick up with him there as the Master at Arms at Castle Black, and he mocks a lot of the initiates. He's basically harsh on them. He justifies it in saying that a lot of them did not grow up in a keep or a castle or whatever, or weren't trained, and so I think he feels like he has to be a little extra hard on them because they could have just been from Flea Bottom. They could have just been, they've never held a sword, right? And so maybe he's really trying to up that. I don't know, but he's definitely harsh, and he is in major conflict with Jon Snow. Jon Snow at one point pulls a dagger and wants to take him on, and is arrested. in the first book. Like he's, hey,
Yes.
Jon, you went too far. You went too far. So yeah, that's how contentious he and Lord Snow are with one another. And at the end of A Game of Thrones, he's basically sent down to where we are. We're in a Clash of Kings right now. He's sent down to King's Landing, and he's trying to recruit Tyrion. Met him, remembers that he was kind of harsh, and mocks him a little bit. But he does put the word out that the Night's Watch is looking for recruits, and so that's a Clash of Kings. And then in the Storm of Swords, when he comes back, he's basically returned to the Master at Arms over at East Watch by the Sea. He returns to Castle Black to help when the Wildling siege takes place, and good old Janos Slynt tries to kind of rise to power there at Castle Black. He follows him for a bit. What is it, in a dance? Let's see. It's right at Storm of Swords at the end there. They have the voting, right? So after the mutiny takes place on the Old Bear, then we've got to pick a new Lord Commander. And we are going to... that's where they end up picking our good friend, Jon Snow.
Yeah.
So Slynt loses. Alistair was in it. He was in 6th. He withdrew, put his support behind Slynt. Slynt decides to not follow Jon's commands, and he is executed for that. Alistair then later is sent on a ranging north of the Wall, where he believes that he is sent on this in the hopes that he will die or not be able to return, and he says that he will return one way or another. Okay, so that's just a quick update on him. We're going to return to him at the end of the show. We're going to talk about a raven that we got from someone about Sir Alistair. We did reference him in the Pink Letter and the hooded figure in Winterfell and all of that, and I thought we'd kind of follow up with this raven that discusses that and some other ideas behind maybe what his role will be in Winds of Winter. So,
yeah, I think you could say that Janos Slynt, lost his head there for a minute, and then he lost his head there forever.
So. Forever. he definitely did. Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right. Well, Ez, moving on over to the chapter today. This is Arya 9 of A Clash of Kings. We are still at Harrenhal. Things are about to get quite interesting, though, with Arya. So I'm going to read the whole summary here today, and then we'll dive into it. Arya and Hot Pie are eating tarts in the kitchen when the Bloody Mummers return. Always the Bloody Mummers. This time with nearly 100 northern men as prisoners, along with their Lord Commander Robert Glover and Aenys Frey. Vargo Hoat claims that Lord Roose Bolton fled with his host after the battle. Sir Armory Lorik has his men imprisoned in the Widow's Tower. Arya tries to convince Gendry to help her free the Northmen, but the apprentice is happy enough where he is and wants no part of it. Arya later goes to the Godswood to practice with a wooden stick, and she meets Jaqen Hagar. The Lorathi tells her that he would have done with his promise and asks her to name a third name. She asks him to help her free the Northmen, but Jaqen reminds her that she has one name left. When Arya asks if she could name anybody, even the king, Jaqen tells her, "Speak the name and death will come. On the morrow, at the turn of the moon, a year from this day, it will come. A man does not fly, but 1 foot moves, and another, and one day a man is there, and a king dies." Arya whispers Jaqen Hagar and stuns the man. But Jaqen is unafraid, and a dagger appears in his hand, telling her she would lose her only friend. Arya says that a friend would help her, and Jaqen agrees to help her if she names another name. They go find Rorg and Biter, and Jaqen tells her the hungry gods will feast on blood tonight if a man would do this thing, but Arya is resolute. Jaqen brings Arya along and has her demand several kettles of hot soup from the cooks. Each man takes one of the huge kettles, with Rourke carrying two, and they invade the tower where the prisoners are kept, boiling soup flying everywhere as the guards are dispatched. And when Rourke unlocks the door to the cells, Robert Glover thanks them and asks if they are the brave companions. Arya is confused but has no time to ask him what he meant when fighting breaks out in the castle. Jaqen wipes blood from his sword on Arya's shirt, telling her this is her work. Later, Arya takes back the name and asks if she can still name a third, but Jaqen responds that she has gotten far more than 3 deaths. As she watches, Jaqen tells her the debt is paid and that he must die. As his features change, and as a hand passes over his face, Arya asks who he is and if she could learn to do the same, but Jaqen tells her she would need to go with him across the narrow sea. He leaves her with a coin of great value in the right place and tells her that if she needs to find him again, she could give the coin to any man from Braavos and say Valar Morghulis. Jaqen, who claims his name is as dead as Ari, then disappears into the night. Then Lord Roose Bolton arrives in the aftermath of the fall of Harrenhal, and Vargo Hoat turns the castle over to him. The prisoners were all a ruse to begin with, and apparently Bolton had bought the services of the Corhook sellsword. As Roose Bolton takes control of the castle, Shagwell grabs Arya and presents her to her brother Rob's Bannerman as the weasel who made the soup. Bolton asks for her name, and Arya tells him Nan. The Lord of the Dreadfort then asks if she is afraid of leeches, for he claims that a man must purge himself of bad blood. When Arya tells him she is not afraid, Bolton names her his cupbearer. The banners over the great house are changed to the flayed man of the Dreadfort and the direwolf of the Starks. Arya watches as the bloody mummers parade Sir Armory around naked, then feed him to a caged bear, and she thinks to herself a bear all in black like Yoren. So, Ez. This is probably the first time that something quite major is different between the show and the books. So for everybody that is a show watcher, and you guys are listening to us go over the books, which I know is a lot. I know is a lot of our listeners. If you remember in the show, Tywin Lannister stays there, and Arya serves as his cupbearer. And it actually, in a way, kind of presents two different Arya's character here. It's two different things, because in this way, in the books, you're thinking a little more along the lines of like, well, why doesn't Arya just tell Lord Bolton? Because at this point, remember, we don't know that Bolton will turn out to be a bad guy. We're thinking, this is great. Arya she's with the Northmen. I mean, she can say, "Hey, I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell, and this could be a good thing." And then flip that around, and you're in the show, and you're like, "I hope to God she does not get found out, because then Tywin Lannister would have her." And then remember in the show we see Littlefinger there, and he's having a meeting, and so this is I think this is the first major difference between the show and the books in terms of how the story progresses forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure it is. And it is very interesting for us, the reader, to go, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't she just speak up here? Why wouldn't she say something? We're almost like, this is great. Whereas in the show, we wouldn't be doing that, right? I mean, when we know that, yeah, as you said, Tywin, no, she's not going to say a daggone thing. It still works, but it's way better, I mean, in this, just because you can kind of see how it is that Roose was able to get that close, be that connected, to make a couple different requests between House Frey and between the Lannisters. So yeah, he's a conniving guy. Seems like, I mean, stuff was already in motion here before she kind of even got Jack and Hagar, involved. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's different though. It is different, and it's cool. And it's a reminder to us that Roose Bolton is a big deal, actually. So because sometimes
much bigger deal in the books.
Much bigger deal. And I think that was the thing, is that the show didn't always know exactly what to do with him. He is a guy who doesn't, we talked about this when we were talking about the pink letter the other day, in that we don't get a lot of him thinking about his plans or reflecting on why he did stuff or his point of view. We don't really get him thinking about his thoughts. We get characters around him. We get words that he spoke, his actions, the leeching, and so on. But we don't really know what he's thinking. Whereas we do get some stuff with like Tyrion thinking through things and some of other point of view characters and their mindset. So it's interesting to have him be this big bad guy that we don't get those internal thoughts. I mean, same thing's kind of going on with Varys. Like we don't really know. Like we see Varys kind of doing things in the shadows. Littlefinger, though, sometimes will out loud tell us stuff supposedly that he's doing in his master plan, and it may not be that case. Although with Sansa, it might be right to some degree. So yeah, he's someone we got to pay attention to, and he's a big deal. And it's a big turning point for him and for House Bolton. I mean, they're gonna make some major moves here, and it's also big for Arya because she's in a position now where she has information, she has access to his stuff, access to him. She's his cupbearer, which is cool, and we'll talk about that when we come to the next Arya chapter as to what she does with that. Yeah. So I mean, it is a major difference, and I think it's better, obviously, in the books.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to note too here that we're now beginning to see, because in the show, the Roose Bolton thing, because it's Tywin, it's almost like when Roose Bolton shows up, the first time you really kind of see him is at the Red Wedding. And it's like, oh, okay, hold on. So now the Boltons step into the stage. Well, one of the things we're going to kind of see in these next two Arya chapters is that Bolton is already kind of positioning himself and making plans. And then, the Robb stuff with the phrase, that hasn't even started yet. They in the show, they kind of show you Robb and Talicia, who is a show only character, but in the books, the same thing happens where Robb will find a woman that he wants to marry. It's a character named Jane Westerling, so that story arc will still happen, but it happens differently and it happens later. I think it's already started at this point in the show, and they just kind of focus on that more. But the difference being that now we get to see Roose Bolton's side. And it's Roose Bolton is already planning and plotting. It kind of feels like that he's going to do this. So it seems likely to me that Roose Bolton, regardless of what was going on with Robb and Jane Westerling he's no longer going along with the phrase, that Roose was planning on something anyway.
Yeah, and he really keeps his options open. I think is the best way to kind of phrase it, because he's learning about stuff. Stannis' defeat. He's from this position. In the next couple of chapters, he's going to hear about different things that are going on, and he's in a really good position where he can. Well, later on, he gets into even a better position in regards to like Jaime Lannister and stuff. But yeah, things kind of come to him, and he's really good at reacting to stuff, and he has multiple, I think, plans and avenues, and knows how to make relationships that are advantageous to him later on. I mean, marrying a Frey is something that he does that is good, that he uses to his advantage, keeps them close, is able to put, Robb's men later on in peril, actually, later on, once he starts to kind of think he's going to turn. Yeah, so, I mean, he's already starting. I think he's already got some of that on his mind a little bit, and then you think about what's going on with his bastard. How much of that is he does he know about? How much of that was predetermined? How much of that was
because remember last time we did the Bran chapter, Reek is actually in disguise Ramsay. That's the first time we see him. You don't know it from reading it until later. It's one of those things that's kind of revealed later. But yeah, as you say, Ramsay is already in Winterfell, which has just been taken by Theon.
Yeah, exactly. And then we know that like Lady Hornwood earlier, like House Manderley up there in the north was trying. There was a fighting over the Hornwood land and all that kind of stuff, and we know that he went in there and under whose orders? Under, he marries her, takes her. I mean, it's awful what he does, and and then he's kind of routed, and then he disguises himself as Reek, and he ends up, as you say, in Winterfell. Yeah. So, but what does Roose know? I think that's one of those things where it's a sign. What we find out later when you look on stuff in a reread or you go back and look at it, you're like, wow, okay. How long has this been going on? I think you asked that question. I mean, really though, he is going to play what's dealt to him. He is in the field. He is at Harrenhal. He does do something very crafty here with Lannister men, where he basically gets Vargo Hoat to kind of, go in there and switch sides, right? And kind of uses him against Tywin, and that's cool. That's a good card to play. But then when things shift, what's he going to do? He's just always looking for opportunity, I think, is the way I think about Roose a lot of times. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, no. Once you're you say something if you want.
Oh, I was just saying, and then we can go back to Jaqen Hagar. The end of this chapter 2 is just so. I think it's Gurr's writing. I think it's just so good because you have this scene where Northmen just took Harrenhal, where Arya is, where she's nervous. And remember, she doesn't want to say her name. We do get why she says that. She's like, because there's still too many people around that I wouldn't want to know of who I am, right? And then, the Stark banner is raised here, right? Mm-hmm. The Stark banner is raised, but she's watching like Sir Amory Lork, being fed to a bear, and and then she's thinking about Yoren, and so there's just like all of these things that are happening in the same chapter where Arya gets the coin from Jaqen Hagar, and he says some things in this chapter like you were a mouse, you're a weasel, you're this, and now she's Nan, and it's interesting because you make those references to her, and she will become other things later. She becomes Cat of the Canals. She becomes other things later. And ultimately, I think her story will end up being similar into the show, where by the time it's over, she probably will just go be her own person, traveling, doing whatever she wants. So she'll be Arya. That's it. She's Arya. She's just living out her own adventure. And a lot of that, I think, up until this point, you've seen her being, I'm not a lady, and then she has to become things. But here is kind of is a big point for her. We're getting that a lot with the Starks. Last chapter, Bran, that was kind of a big thing for Bran. That was the first time feels like you're in control of Summer, which will be kind of his positioning for it. And now you're getting this Arya the next chapter, with Arya getting the coin, and it's pushing her forward. And in the last chapter, we got Theon. That was his big moment. So a lot of these big moments for the Stark children, if you include kind of Theon in there, even Jon, it wasn't that long ago. Jon, big chapter, you're going to go with. So a lot of this stuff's happening right now with these Stark children in the middle of a Clash of Kings, and it's really now they're going off in the directions that they will be. That's really going to drive them towards the end of the series. Yeah, it's almost like they've done a lot of getting up to this point, and then now they're going to kind of take off. They've been with a group. They're going to kind of split off, go on their own, or with a smaller faction, and we're going to follow them more intimately, I guess. And they're not in big kind of parties and stuff, or big larger groups, I guess. Arya. So with Jaqen, I mean, what? So
it seems like this whole thing was going to go on anyways, right? I mean, this was already going to happen. They just sort of take part in it. You can, Robert Glover kind of says, asking if they are brave companions, as if he knew this was going to happen, right? So they're let in there. This is all kind of it's a trick. It's really
It's a trap.
It's a trap. Trojan horse situation. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like so they didn't really even need to do this. You know? Arya did not need Jaqen to go do this. This was already going to be in motion. Right? I mean, so it's a waste. It just feels like a waste. And it's like I like that you get a little bit more about, it's like you get a taste of what a faceless man can do, what he could do to a king if he wanted to. He may not kill him on the morrow, right? He may not even kill him next week, but maybe even in a year. Once he takes one step and then another, eventually a man will get to the point where he will kill a king. And it seems more than just sort of like, oh, in time, it's not like he's saying this to kind of push it off as if he'll die of old age. No, we're actually going to kill him. It just will take some time. Whereas some things that you see with Melisandre, well, that could have just happened. You know, she said it's going to happen. She throws some leeches in the fire. Does that mean they actually, hers seems more like coincidence, whereas like the faceless men, when they set out to do something, it's done. A thing will be done and it's done by their hand and you know it was them. A guild of assassins. So, and we see him do something really, I mean, awesome right here, where he changes his face, you know, and he essentially dies. Jaqen dies, right? He was named and he takes his life. He takes a new whatever. So he's still a mystery. There's tons of theories on him. You guys know that. I don't know. I think he is the guy who shows up later on in the series. I think he shows up in Old Town. What is he doing though? What is he about? Why is he this far away? And how is he getting orders or communication? Was he set up with one task and he left? And as he said, it's almost like he hinted, right, that it may take a year. Like he may have gotten the summons or gotten his orders over in Bravos, and he left around the start of the series, and he's been doing what? It's going to take him a year, but don't worry. Eventually, a very important name has been named. Is the way I look at it. Someone very high up has been named, and he intends to kill that person. Is he along the way? Like, is he killing several? Did they assign him several different people to take out in Westeros? Like, we're going to send our best guy over there. Did he take out a Greyjoy? You know, I don't know. There's so many ideas and possibilities, but he's on a mission, right? I mean, you think he's a man on a mission.
Yeah, I mean, why was he captured in the first place? Was that part of the plan?
Was that,
we don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Was he who? Yeah, exactly. Did he is he still on his mission currently, or had he finished his mission? You know, we think he was in the cells, right? Mm-hmm. Because and then later we think he's in Old Town. So what's he doing over there? Right. Is this still the same mission? We don't, you know,
it's the same guy. Yeah.
Is it the same guy? Because the person Arya talks to over in Bravos, who knows if they can just mimic themselves to be anybody? Is it actually the same guy, or do they know? Is it through magic? Is it through ravens? How do they talk? It is still a big mystery. I guess theoretically, you should consider any mysterious death to potentially be a faceless man.
Well, yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, you get the whole Balon Greyjoy thing where a man stood was walking across the bridge or whatever, without a face or something like that is I think the phrase. But then again, Euron is cool with kinslaying, so whatever. I mean, I don't know. It just, to me, you know, what's interesting too is you have to remember, he doesn't actually say, he just gives his name. And it's the way he talks, it's where he's from, it's the fact that he changes his face. It's all of those clues that we put together. Well, he must be this, and he must be on a mission. And a lot of that stuff we find out just like small little references prior to this, and then we get a couple major things later on, and then in the next couple books we get more on it. But it's one of the biggest, I think, mysteries. We have Arya over there trying to learn about all of this, and we're learning about, her sight is taken from her and it's restored. You know what I mean? And so they definitely have some magical kind of concoctions and know how to alter their faces. I think it would be interesting to figure out how they communicate. I think something's going to have to be answered for us there. And it's again, I think it all ties back to blood magic and life energy, life force that they're using or tapping into. But he's on a mission. One of my favorite ones, and I'll just bring it up again for anybody who wants to kind of go, look into it, is that he either someone really high up or wanted someone killed, or they wanted a dragon killed, possibly, or that the guild itself wants the ability to kill dragons now that dragons are back, and is going up to Castle Black to get a book. That's why he's with the Night's Watch. Or then, that's maybe why he diverts and then goes to Old Town. He had two options. He went north first. That didn't work out. Now let's go to Old Town. That's my backup plan. It's a little bit more difficult, but I can get in there too. Hey, that's cool. I like that. I don't know, though. I just kind of think, why was he... That's a long way to go up to Castle Black and everything, and then are you going to take the oath? Are you going to swear? I don't know. It's far-fetched, but
who knows what degrees they go through in order to achieve the task. I mean, it seems like they're willing to do anything.
Yeah. Well, you look at what Arya does just in her later on. We're kind of jumping way ahead here, but like when she's given a task, yeah, she does a lot of research. She role plays. She watches. She finds an interesting way to make the kill. But she knows the ins and outs, the day in, day out activity, and it takes a long time. It takes a while, but the job will be done, and they'll get it done. So I'm guessing the more experience you have, the more resources, tools you have, the quicker, faster it will be done. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool little kind of thing. It's the final spot here where we kind of leave Jaqen, and we Arya will think about him. Obviously, he had a significant impact on her because we know she chooses to go across the Narrow Sea and over to Braavos and train it up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So,
okay, as we have a Raven you want to get to.
Yeah, and so the Raven today, basically just this is a follow-up to our Sir Alistair Thorne conversation. Sir Jack sent this in. This was in our Bend the Knee group, and it was in reference to our pink letter, okay? Pink letter conversation where in that we were kind of making the connection that maybe Sir Alistair Thorne is somehow involved in the writing of the pink letter, helping Roose Bolton communicate with Quaithe up at Castle Black. So that was just the previous episode. We were talking about that. And Sir Jack wrote in here and he said, plot twist. Sir Alistair Thorne eventually finds out that Jon Snow is a Targaryen and becomes one of his greatest allies. And that right out the gate, like that's something that I've always thought is really cool, and I would love to see something like that happen. It would almost be this bittersweet if it were that he found out and then it was too late because he had already done something that was, he had gone too far. But let me continue on here. Sir Jack says, as Sir Matt and Ser Ezra mentioned when talking about the pink letter, he was only one of two Targaryen loyalists to take the black instead of bending the knee and taking Robert's pardon. Even if he was a part of the pink letter, I think this information would rally him to Jon's side. Assuming Roose Bolton has something treacherous up his sleeve, Alistair Thorne could be the one to foil his plans. Is there any chance that Maester Aemon's Targaryen lineage is the reason that Thorne gives so much credence to the counsel of a 100-year-old graybeard that many other lords would have just brushed aside? It seems apparent to me that had Sir Alistair Thorne known Jon's identity from the start, then they would have had a much, much different relationship. But what do I know? He says, edit, this is assuming Jon is actually a Targaryen. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Cheers, everyone enjoy your Sunday. So it was just this past weekend. Thanks again to him. I appreciate the follow-up on that. And what do you think, Sir Matt? I mean, a different take on Sir Alistair.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with him, because in the show, he is part of the mutiny, and Jon executes him once he's resurrected, and that's kind of it. The books, he's gone, right? He's off on arranging. So I would say worst, sort of laziest case scenario, if you want the easiest way to get rid of him and something that would be kind of interesting, is he shows up at some sort of a battle against White Walkers and others, and you just, let's say a resurrected Jon, you still go down the same sort of route, and Jon kills him in the Battle of Winterfell against the White Walkers, right? That would be one way to kind of show him. So, he just died, was killed by a White Walker, and then you get to kill him as a White Walker, and it's kind of a cool, just little ending. So I would say that's like worst case, lowest,
easy
case scenario.
Yeah.
The easiest, like, hey, I just need to get rid of characters. Okay, I could have this happen. I think that's unlikely to happen. I think he's going to come back. The question will become, you and I talked about the idea of he was part of it on the Pink Letter, trying to get rid of Jon. But we have before talked about the idea of it would be cool if he were to find out that Jon is a Targaryen. So it all kind of depends on when he shows back up on the stage. Is he going to show back up? If for that to happen, I feel like he would have to come back much later, because Jon's likely to get resurrected by the middle of this book. By middle of Winds of Winter, and then Jon in the show doesn't find out he's a Targaryen until season 8, right? He himself does not know he's a Targaryen. Other people have figured it out. So when will Jon figure that out, and what implications will that be? Now, if you remember in season 8, the Night's Watch comes down. I think it's end of season 8, episode 1, or I think they maybe arrived episode 2. There's like 5 guys left. Remember, right? They go, and then you've got the weird circle that the White Walkers were doing, and they killed that boy, and it was weird. And so that's, if you go down maybe something like that, then he does end up taking over the Night's Watch, and then he brings the remaining men down. And then hears that Jon is a Targaryen and fights alongside with him. So I'm certainly for it. I would love the idea of Alistair Thorne being it. The way you could go down this is to make it sort of happen sooner would be he has been a Targaryen like insider, right? We talked about the idea of Mance is Rhaegar and all of this stuff, and Alistair Thorne somehow has known the whole time that Jon is a Targaryen and was specifically hard on him, but never was really willing to have him killed, right? Just he felt like he needed to be hardened along the way. And then maybe he comes back and is like, you killed Jon Snow, and is like outraged by it because he knew all along, but he was just doing it because he felt like Jon needed that to push himself, right?
Yeah,
because
plot twist.
So right, so those are some scenarios, for Alistair Thorne.
Okay, here's something interesting. Let me tell you how big of a deal House Thorne is. Okay, so Sir Rickard Thorne was the only other reference that we have, and he was a knight from House Thorne, and he was a member of the Kingsguard during the reign of King Viserys I. And we were just talking about, as we lead into Dance of the Dragons, Viserys I. He's one of the Kingsguard. Okay, and so you have somebody in Sir Alistair's like lineage, his house, whatever, that was really close to the Targaryens. Sir Rickard actually gives up his life for one of the Targaryen children is killed in Old Town in some mob kind of, riot situation. So it just made me kind of think like, you have one example of a Thorn, Rickard Thorn, defending Prince, I think it was Maelor Targaryen, in Old Town as the people they wanted to get a hold of him, and they ended up killing this child, and he did everything he could against the mob, and he's hacking, killing people, whatever, defending this Targaryen, Alliser. What if he's in that situation? Talk about a major kind of crazy thing where he's defending one of the last Targaryens, like legitimately. That would be wild. I don't know how we get there. I think people would say, "Oh, that's super counter to what we have seen." One of the small maybe nods, and it's meant to be an insult, is he calls him Lord Snow, right?
Yes.
Eventually shifts to bastard a little bit, right? But it calls him a lord. He actually is acknowledging him as his lord. Right? Lord Snow. And so that's kind of fitting, right? That he would make that acknowledgement, even though he's doing it out of mockery. It's you could, is he being respectful there, or is he mocking me? No, he's mocking you, but if you're trying to lay some real subtle kind of thread down that he might shift back. Remember too, George writes this character in the very beginning. Years ago, he wrote Sir Alliser Thorne. So he obviously is a big deal. His last name is Thorne, like a thorn in your side. And that's what he is for Jon. Now, could it turn out that I like this idea that they could turn out to be someone who is going to help Jon. And I like what you said, which is coming back to Castle Black and saying, "You guys did what? This is ridiculous." You know what I mean? And he does know. I don't know that he does that he knows. I haven't gotten enough hinting that would suggest that he does know. I think that would be cool if there was some flashback or something. That would be wild. And here's you. Okay, you ready for a major tie-in here? Are you ready to go down a freaking rabbit hole? Oh my gosh! So remember how we used to talk about like what happened at the sack of King's Landing? What happened there? Sir Alliser is there. Like he's given the opportunity to, it's death or take the black, right? He takes the black. I'm not sure if he was pardoned or offered a pardon. I know that's what Sir Jack said, but I can't remember which way it was. Either way, he was there. Does he somehow get the option to take the black because he gave information to Eddard Stark as to where the Tower of Joy is? Did he tell Robert something? You know what I mean? Who told Eddard Stark where to go? Who was the member that was close, a Targaryen loyalist that would have that information? The battle is lost. King, it's over. The Mad King is dead. Jaime Lannister has slain him. Rhaegar is dead. As far as Sir Alliser knows, it's over. It's done. Well, I can spare my life. Maybe I can give these guys some information. Here's what I know, and go check it out. Would that not be ironic if Sir Alliser was one of the guys who told them information about Lyanna and Rhaegar and was maybe even that close? That would be, he's 50 years old, and so he could have been one of those guys who was hanging around Rhaegar, and I think it would be very fascinating to think about that. Yeah.
I don't know that he would give up information, though, because Alliser Thorne, and, one of the reasons he's probably a Targaryen loyalist, I don't know that it's necessarily that he's like rah Targaryen. When Jaina Slynt has his major mess up, and I love the way the show does it. I mean, Alliser Thorne looks at him like, you just went against the Watch. What you did there was like, it almost, to me, it always felt like in that moment, Alliser Thorne is like, you messed up,
Mm-hmm.
It's so he is kind of he's almost got a little bit of that like Stannis quality in him. It's like, this is this is like the way, in that it's like, I'm going to follow the law to the to the letter. I mean, he can still be a jerk to Jon. That doesn't mean that he's just because he's a jerk to Jon doesn't mean he's disobeying rules or certainly anything. So yeah, I don't know that he'd give up information, but then again, who knows? Once Robert becomes king, well, maybe it's different. He views it as, well, okay, here we go. This is the new person in charge.
Yeah, I think the thing is when you could look at it two ways, right? So did he say that what Slynt was doing was dishonorable, that it was something that was counter to the Night's Watch, or did he just realize, if I back this guy, I'm dead? I mean, it could certainly be that as well. I like what you say, though. I think more so he is a knight, and he does have some honor. He does have some whatever. He's a harsh guy. He's cold. He's whatever. He's ruthless. But at the end of the day, he was knighted. I think it's just he lost. His side lost. He's up here, serving out, living the rest of his life here, and he's just kind of bitter. So, and maybe he has some resentment. I think the resentment for Jon is because he is a Stark, air quote, a Stark, right?
Yes.
I mean, he is, and I think maybe he doesn't like the fact that he's beat, that he's up here protecting the North, essentially. It just doesn't, none of it kind of sits well with him. And so that's why he's willing to kind of, I don't know, side up with Slynt. And also, too, he knows how much favor Jon has among, the Night's Watch during, that was a Storm of Swords. Yeah. So, right. Yeah, I think he would, though. I think he could have. I'm just saying it's an option. I get that he has that honor. He's got that loyalty. If you're that loyal, why would you give up some big secret?
Right.
But
yeah, that's why I think when he comes back, I don't think he will be happy that they committed mutiny. I don't think that book, Alistair Thorne. I know in the show he says he says like, I would do it again. And granted, I mean, if you're from Alistair Thorne's perspective, let's just view him as he is what he is. When Jon comes in, Jon is kind of arrogant. Jon protects Sam, which is kind of going against what Alistair Thorne's role is, to be jerks to these people, regardless of who comes. I don't think Alistair Thorne was ever going to kill Sam. I think anybody up there realizes it's kind of like, it's like drill sergeants, right? Drill sergeants are jerks because that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to turn, literally anyone into a weapon, basically, right? Like I need you to be trained so that in the event we're beyond the wall, I know I can rely on you. And Jon, does kind of come in. I mean, he has that conversation with Donald Noy and stuff like that. And a lot of the other guys aren't happy with him because he does come in and he's, I'm better. He does have a little bit of that, I'm better than you. I'm kind of above this, like, and I mean, even Jorah Mormont, everyone thinks Jon should be a ranger. No, you're going to be a steward because you need to, you need to learn. So, yeah. But I don't know that Alistair Thorne would have even participated in the mutiny.
No, I know. And that goes back to sort of the whole pink letter situation. Is he a guy who would, when he is sent away by Jon and he says, I'll come back one way or the other, is he actually doing what he's supposed to do? Or did he go to Winterfell and is he the hooded figure who is working with Roose Bolton? That was our kind of, pink letter pitch. And that's, again, someone's theory. I was trying to figure out when it was presented to me that Alistair could have written that letter. I mean, I can see why people would say that, right? Because the idea is that he's upset with Jon, and also maybe George writes it in such a way that it's so we look towards him and really it's like Clytus and the Stewarts were just sort of like, no, there's this really undercurrent or undertone going on among the Stewarts where they're just super pissed and upset with Jon. I don't know. Where is Sir Alistair? Where's he at? Is he actually north of the wall? Is he in Winterfell? What's he doing? When's he coming back? Is he going to come back dead? The whole thing. I think
the other.
Yeah, the other. I think
one way or the other, not one way or another. one
Right.
way or the other, which is
Right.
Grr just totally playing with this. So
Yeah.
guys, let us know. Hey, send us a comment, shoot us a raven, and let us know what you guys think about it, because it is interesting, and he is a character that we haven't really done a lot of deep dives on. So it is fun to as we this has been the thing, really. I still harken back to that one iTunes comment we got, which said we focused on a lot of characters, a few specific characters, and I think at that point that was really accurate, because we were early in the books, but now we're further in, we've got more characters to talk about.
Yeah.
And so now, Alistair Thorne's a great character to talk about. So
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, on that note, over on Patreon, we actually have an episode up on Aaron Dampere. Okay, so Aaron Greyjoy, we just did a whole kind of little, let's track him. Let's see what he's up to. It's nothing good. It's nothing good right now.
it's looking bad.
Yeah, and that all could have been revised. I mean, a lot of that Euron chapter could have been revised, but we kind of track his story and his plot all the way up to where he currently is over on Patreon. So you guys can check that out. And I think I said in that episode, first person to go in there and leave a comment and let us know which character to cover next. Minor character, doesn't matter who it is. I think we'll cover them. We're going to go do some research and look them up, and we're just trying to find a few more. It's nicer when people just pick it for us. I think it's great.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's really cool. And if you're interested in that character and you really want to have a discussion on something or a particular aspect, just write that in the comment, and we will do it. We'll get back to you on that. So.
Absolutely. All right, guys. With that, we want to thank you for playing the Game of Thrones. In our next episode, we will be discussing Chapter 48, Daenerys 4 of A Clash of Kings.
Absolutely. If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a raven at btkcast@gmail.com.
We will see you in a week, and remember that winter is coming.